why don't you step over there so we have 2 and 2, balance it out. Oh, no, I guess not, 5. Good afternoon, I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. This is Thursday, September 17th, and we're here to announce a very dynamic program that involves us dealing with the housing concerns that we have here in Westchester County. I'm joined by quite a number of people here. I want to make sure I get everybody's title right. From my team, of course, I have our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins. I have Joan McDonald, who's our Director of Operations. Blanca Lopez, who is our Program Manager that handles housing matters and issues. Norma Drummond, our Commissioner of Planning. We have from the Building and Realty Institute of Westchester, also the Mid-Hudson Region Executive Director, Tim Foley. And we have Marlene Zartlis, who is, Zarfis. We got to get a light right under here. Sorry, Marlene. She's Westchester Residential Opportunities Executive Director and professional in the housing field. We have this stellar group of people here together today because we are launching an innovative program called Community Buildback Program. This is a 4-pronged umbrella program that has with it programs that utilize housing and urban development money, and as well as those that involve the CARES Act, the COVID Relief Act money. And those programs, which we're going to talk about today, include Red Stop Eviction Program, Red Rent Help Project, Blue Priority, Blue Priority Homeowners Initiative, and the Blue Small Business Landlord Initiative. We've attached colors to these things so that we have a better sense of keeping them straight in all of the different situations we're talking about. I'm going to ask Norma to cover each of these different things in a second, but what I want to highlight very importantly is we received some support from the federal government under the CARES Act, which was designed to help governments deal with the COVID outbreak. And the COVID outbreak has caused many ancillary problems. And we've talked about some of them and tried to address some of them. Just yesterday, we were here to talk about how we need to do extra effort to help stabilize our business community. And we identified use of $10 million in COVID funds to accomplish that through our Business First program. We were here a few weeks ago before that to talk about how we want to deal with food insecurity, and we identified COVID resources that we were provided to help advance our food program across the county with $3.5 million. In each of these 2 cases, and now today on the housing front, these are problems that have been exacerbated because of the COVID-19 outbreak. And therefore, the money that we receive from the federal government is going specifically for programs that take us beyond what we normally would have done to deal with the impact of the pandemic. And while we have ongoing housing problems at all times, it has become exacerbated because of the COVID-19 outbreak. People have lost their jobs, been unable to pay their rent, or have had their homes reach the point of foreclosure on their mortgages. And that's what we're trying to step in the breach and do what we can for as many Westchester families as we can. So with that, I'm going to ask Norma Drummond to join us, go through some of these different programs, and she may be assisted by Blanca Lopez, but we'll go through each of our different partners here to share some of the input so you can understand the program. When we're finished, we're happy to open up to questions. Norma?
Thank you. Good afternoon. So for the last couple of months, we have been actively keeping a watch on what was going on within the housing market. I mean, we would normally do that anyway, but obviously in light of the pandemic that was going on, it was even more important that we made sure that we kept a real close ear to the ground about what was going on. And so I do want to thank Tim Foley and Marlene and our other housing partners here in the county who have regularly been in contact with us about what they've been seeing with their feet to the ground there. We've been talking to management companies and landlords, et cetera, to really get a handle on what the needs were. And clearly, we're not going to be able to help everybody, but we think that we've put together 4 really good programs that are going to be able to account for the bulk of what we see as what's missing in terms of assistance out in the housing market right now. And so they really are broken up into the 2 prongs. The 2, which we start with the blue factor, one is the blue small business for landlords, is to be able to work with the smaller landlords who own between 4 and 20 units to be able to help them to collect their back rent. So the idea is for them to be able to get up to 75% of their rent, of their back rent, up to 4 months for each of the tenants within their buildings. And then for them to either work out a forgiveness or a payment plan for the remaining 25% with their tenants. This program is going to be available countywide. There is $10 million set aside to be able to do this. We do expect that we're probably going to be able to serve about 2,400 families with this program. So it is going to be pretty extensive. The one caveat is this is a program that will expire at the end of the year. So it is meant to catch those families who are behind in their rent right now, or actually may become behind in their rent now starting in September. One of the things I probably should have started by mentioning is again, part of what we were watching was the fact that the unemployment boost and unemployment insurance boost stopped at the end of July. And we do believe that that was one of the strong factors that was helping people to be able to continue to pay their rent through the first months of the pandemic. But once that now stopped, those households that had the resources to probably pay their rent through August now no longer have that. And so that's why we, again, think this is the opportune time to roll this out, because now more families are going to be faced with the stress and the issues associated with not being able to pay their rent. So the second program that is also being used with the coronavirus relief funds is $2.5 million under the blue category, and that's going to be for a foreclosure prevention program. So the idea is for us to be able to work with homeowners who, for no fault of their own, have jobs that disappeared on them for several months and really fell behind on paying their mortgages. So again, $2.5 million is available through 4 of our nonprofit agencies, because foreclosure prevention is a really specific skill. It requires negotiation with management, with mortgage companies and with banks. Sometimes it does involve some court proceedings as well. So Marlene's office and Westchester Residential Opportunities is one of the 4 agencies that will be running those programs. Now, under the leadership of our county executive, George Latimer, the consortium, the Westchester Urban County Consortium, was reestablished in 2019. And through the consortium, the county municipalities, the 27 municipalities that rejoined the consortium, have actually now received over $9 million of extra coronavirus relief funds this year alone. So the important thing is to get those funds out the door, and that's becoming part of our housing solution as well. And so these are the 2 red programs that we've established under the Community Buildback program. So the first program is an eviction prevention program that will allow us to work directly with individual households, so that maybe they're in buildings that are greater than 20 units, or maybe they're in buildings that are low, fewer than the 4 units that the other program sets aside for. But the one caveat here is they must be in consortium communities. And so this program, they will work directly with the households to be able to collect the information and the documentation associated with it. Again, working through 4 nonprofit agencies, of which Westchester Residential Opportunities is another one of those agencies, because they have a very long history of providing these specific services. So the guidelines for all of these programs, by the way, are going to be on the website. I will give you that website shortly. But then the 4th and last program, again, limited to consortium communities, is going to be a rental assistance program. This is going to be specifically targeted for families who have had jobs that have totally disappeared, all right, or were in phase 4 of the reopening, and again, just no fault of their own, they haven't been able to go back to work. The people who work for gyms or for some of the entertainment facilities that just have not been able to open up enough, they've been able to hire back all of their employees. So the county planning department will be administering this department directly downstairs, and we will be working with families. We're going to have an application available. It's actually online right now, available today, where it will be due by October 15th. For anybody who wants to be included in the lottery. We will continue to accept applications. We do expect we're going to be able to help about 100 families to pay their rent for the next 12 months. So again, each of these programs has a component to meet the housing need that we've been hearing through our nonprofit agencies is really what's missing in the county out there right now. So to be able to access these programs, the website that we've established, we gave it as easy a name as we could, westchestergov.com/housing-help. All right, that's westchestergov.com/housing-help. The idea is, for you to be able to get any information you might need on housing, any of our nonprofit agencies, we're going to have briefings with both the landlords and the management companies, as well as with our nonprofit agencies, to make sure they understand the components of each of these programs. So thank you to the county executive for his leadership, and I'll give it back to him.
Thank you, Nora. Next, we're going to invite Tim Foley to the microphone. As I mentioned before, he is with the Building and Realty Institute. We know very well by the acronym BRI. They are the association that represents building owners, apartment owners, those who are going to be affected by the landlord side of the program, and also by knowing that some of their tenants are going to be able to make the rent rolls, the back rent that they owe through this program. So, Tim, if you would, thank you.
Thank you, County Executive, and thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to Westchester County for being so creative with this financial aid program, which could not be coming at a better time. April and May were the absolute worst months in terms of people being able to make their rent that we've seen in Westchester County since the Great Recession. That's on the residential side. On the commercial residential rent side, and keep in mind many of these buildings now are mixed use and have some commercial renters as well, it's been devastation all around. But we did see a bounce back in June and July. And part of the reason why we saw that bounce back was exactly as was mentioned because of the increase in unemployment insurance. Government acting as a safety net to help landlords and tenants alike make sure that basic necessities were met. With that expiring in Washington and no clear sense of what program, if any, will take its place, we're now in the danger zone once again for so many of our tenants within our buildings. The landlords who make up BRI have been bending over backwards to be as flexible as possible because we understand that these are good tenants. In normal circumstances, they would be the tenants you would want to keep long term. They have been stable, they have been reliable, and currently they are not through absolutely no fault of their own because of this public health and economic emergency that we're all living in. So we've been offering payment plans. We have been offering installments. We have been offering for breaking of rental leases if someone's parents wanted the child to come live with them to ride out this public health emergency. But as the months drag on, the ability to have that level of flexibility gets harder and harder, particularly for small landlords, those between 4 units and 20 units, who often were not eligible for aid programs of their own. They didn't have staff. They didn't qualify for PPP. They were doing the best that they could. So with this approach, we believe that it is going to have a positive impact on Westchester tenants, of course, but also particularly those small landlords who want to keep being able to be as flexible as possible for the people who are bedrocks of our community and who are suffering through no fault of their own. We're grateful for the partnership. We're grateful for the creativity. We're grateful for the aid. Coming together to fix this problem is what we should all be about at this time. So thank you.
And next, we're going to hear from Westchester Residential Opportunities. Our Executive Director, Marlene, is a professional in dealing with the needs of tenants from the tenant side. And there are many individuals that come to WRO looking for help and need the professional assistance that they can provide. And so their organization, and there are some others as well that are part of this program, will help provide that connective link between the individual and the program, and hopefully for their benefit. Marlene?
Good afternoon, and thank you to the county executive and to everybody who has worked so hard on these grants. For 30 years, as the county executive mentioned, we have WRO, Westchester Residential Opportunities, has been helping to keep people housed to avoid eviction. We've never seen a time like this. It's never a good time to be in the streets, homeless, or in a shelter, but this has got to be the worst time. With a pandemic, with raging unemployment, I really can't imagine a worse time to be without your home. For people who are unemployed, many are choosing between feeding their families and paying their rent. That is a horrible choice to have to make. For those who have either been sick or have lost family members due to COVID, the last thing they should have to worry about is losing their home. So this COVID climate is different than anything we've had before. It used to be if you were evicted, you could go stay with a family member, you could couch surf. You can't do that anymore. We have to social distance, and that just plain doesn't work with staying on somebody's couch. So this grant is literally a lifesaver for people, and we're so glad to be able to have this and help county residents with it. So we are going to use this money to keep as many families as we possibly can in their homes with their utilities on, because we can also pay utilities arrears. And we hope that you'll make this known, get the word out. We've got the money available. We're ready to go. People do not have to wait until the moratorium on eviction is over. And again, thank you to the county for making this available to us.
Thank you very much. I'm going to look to my colleagues if either Blanca Lopez or Ken Jenkins would like to share a little bit about this. Blanca? Thank you.
So we want to thank the county executive for his leadership and guidance in developing these programs. We feel that these programs will assist homeowners, they will assist small property owners who have units between 4 and 20, and we will assist also residents, Westchester County residents who have fallen behind in their rent because of COVID, and who will hopefully be assisted moving forward as their job opportunities may be questionable for now. So we encourage you to please contact the nonprofits that have been identified and have funding and their applications available, and also call the Department of Planning with respect to the landlord program as well as the Moving Forward program, which is a program that can potentially assist with up to 12 months of rent. Thank you.
I just want to highlight, there are 4 programs here, and we've colored them blue and red. Unusual 2 colors, I guess, in our society. No correlation to the general conversations about red and blue. The 2 red programs, Red Stop Eviction Project and Red Rent Help, are funded through HUD money, and that HUD money comes to us through the Community Development Block Grant Program. You may recall that for many years Westchester County formed an urban county consortium, and it was open to the smaller municipalities of the county to join. And in the act of joining, they would then be eligible to be part of a process by which the county at large would bid for money from the federal government for various projects and then sort it back to the different municipalities. The larger communities in Westchester County have their own CDBG programs: Mount Vernon, White Plains, New Rochelle, and Yonkers. So it's the smaller communities of the county that may choose to join our consortium. Now, the consortium was collapsed about 6-7 years ago during the middle of the HUD lawsuit crisis that occurred under the prior administration. During that period of time, HUD discontinued the program, and they and the county were at odds. We made the effort when we first came into office in 2018 to reestablish the program, and in so doing, it took a lot of hard work. Norma Drummond and Blanca Lopez right here had a lot to do with putting it all back together again. And Ken Jenkins, most recently, was the person that helped us get our 30th community, the city of Peekskill, to join that consortium. It does not include all of the other Westchester communities, but again, the big 4 communities have their own CDBG block grants. 30 of the remaining 41 communities have joined the Urban County Consortium, and therefore, if you live or have your business within those 30 communities, we'll provide anybody from the media a list of what those municipalities are. Those would be where the Red Stop programs are eligible. The blue programs, Blue Priority Homeowners Initiative, which is the foreclosure prevention initiative, and the Small Business Landlord Initiative, where the landlord is the recipient to stabilize that, they are available countywide because they come from CARES Act money, which has been provided for the benefit of all county residents, all county municipalities. So you get into the weeds with 4 different programs. They're colored, and nonetheless, there's some details on each. And of course, managing all of these issues become very difficult. We know that whenever we have a complicated application process or a complicated explanation process, we want to turn to our partners who are in the not-for-profit world, who do this regularly, interact with tenants, interact with small landlords, and that is why Marlene and Tim are here representing organizations that will help us get the message out to those people that could potentially use these benefits. So with that, I'm going to stop the presentation, open it up to questions. We have CBS in the room. Tony Aiello is here, and we may have some remote questions through Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications. As the members of the media ask us questions that involve some greater detail, I'm going to ask Norma to handle most of those because she's extremely well conversant in this program. So we'll start with that, Tony. Since you're with us here, you get the lead.
Where should people begin? Should they reach out to BRI or WRO, or should they go to the website? People who are stressed out by this, everything that's going on in their lives, questions about school, and now they're facing eviction or falling behind, where should they start?
Well, let's start with the landlord side of this, or the home ownership side of it. Because if you own a building and you're a small landlord and you'd be eligible for the Priority Homeowners Initiative, the Business Landlord Initiative, if you're a small business owner, a small apartment building owner, 4 to 20 units, you most likely would look at conversations with BRI as a landlord-related group. Tim, do you want to just reference how you interact with landlords in that capacity?
Sure, absolutely. So now that the county has launched its website, we're going to be paralleling that information on our own website, buildersinstitute.org. We are working with other landlord associations, including the Westchester Owners Association, to help get the word out. Norma is conducting a training with us next week. We will have all of those resources available on our website now that they're available on the counties. If someone is a landlord within Westchester County, you have any questions, go to buildersinstitute.org, give us a phone call, we'll route you in the right direction.
And how onerous is the application process? How would you describe it?
Our intention was not to make this difficult. So the application itself is only 2 pages, although depending upon the number of units, the landlords may have to attach additional information. But the idea is to really collect the information from the landlords. There will be attestations that they will have to collect from their tenants, because there are certainly 2 things that we need to be sure of. Number one, that their inability to pay their rent is COVID-related. Okay, and so the landlords will have to be able to document that the tenants were current on their rent for the month of March, but then fell behind for some portion thereafter, and that there's no duplication of benefits. One of the things specific to the federal funding is that we cannot be seeing landlords subsidized for multiple programs or any of the COVID relief funds, that we have to be sure there's no duplication of benefits. One of the things that we are looking to do is, because we don't want one landlord who may have multiple buildings submit all his applications and be the first one to get all the help, is we are asking for applications to be submitted by October 15th. We will then conduct a lottery on WebEx so that we determine the appropriate and an objective, independent means of selecting which apartment buildings will be looked at first and assisted first. But yeah, we did not look to make this at all difficult. We need to collect some essential information. There will be attestations signed, and then we'll go from there.
Tony, there's a second half to your, There's a second half to your question, Tony, and that involves those individuals that are homeowners under the Blue Priority Homeowners Initiative, or the residents, the individual tenants on the Red Stop Eviction Program, and that is where we've identified certain organizations that are targeted to help them, of which Westchester Residential Opportunities is one of them in both of those 2 programs. We also have Community Housing Innovations in both, Washingtonville Housing Alliance Choice of New Rochelle, and HDSW and the Bridge Fund are ones that deal with individual programs. So Marlene may talk a little bit about the intake process for those 2 programs as they approach your organization.
So anybody who is looking for eviction prevention money should either go to our website, WROINC.org, and look under General Housing, and you will find the application there for assistance. It has to be filled out completely. We ask that it be filled out and dropped at our office with all the documents that are listed there. You can also call our phone number, 914-428-4507, and we will help you with that. We are not actually working in the office full-time, but we are there staggered. There's always somebody there. So please reach out to us, and just understand that some of the grants require, for instance, the eviction prevention one requires a denial from DSS first, so the people have to go to DSS, be denied, then come to WRO with all of the documents listed in our application.
These programs are by necessity complicated, but they do involve public allocation of funds. And so we want to make sure that we've checked to make sure the people who do receive the benefits in whatever category we're talking about are appropriately eligible, and also provide the documentation to show exactly why we're making this allocation of funds. Tony, any other questions? I'll go to anyone from remote. Do we have any remote questions? We do not. Okay. So if any of our friends from the press are watching this, if you have any if you develop questions as you report on it, please reach out to Catherine Chaffee. There is some complication that even the press release doesn't completely explain. So do feel free to ask, and we're happy to get into some detail. I want to thank our partners from BRI and WRO, the other organizations that are involved with us here, and of course the leadership within the administration by Norma Drummond, Blanca Lopez, and our senior leadership team, Ken Jenkins and Joan McDonald, for what they've done. I'll close my general comments and end the press conference by where I started out. The federal government made available COVID resources to help combat the COVID problem. When we look at the COVID problem, we see those problems manifest itself in a number of different public policy areas that we as a county government were not structured to be able to resolve. But what we've tried to be is practical and innovative in these efforts. And as I've alluded to before, yesterday from the business standpoint, from the food security standpoint, now today from the housing standpoint, we're trying to take resources that are available, make them available to people in the community who are suffering, and hopefully lighten their burden. I'm George Latimer, County Executive. Thanks for watching and participating. Have a safe day.